In this video, we're going to be looking at inverse proportion. So I recently did a video on direct proportion. Inverse proportion works slightly differently. So we're going to start by looking at the notation involved here. So the notation here is this. That is telling me that y is inversely proportional to x. The 1 over x bit is just notation for this. It's telling me that it's inversely proportional to x. And what that means is that my y is equal to something divided by x. And the idea is we want to work out what that something is. Now I prefer to write this as a rearrangement of this over here, where I'm going to multiply both sides by x. And I prefer to write it as xy is equal to k. And what that's telling me is if I multiply my x value and my y value together, I'm always going to get the same constant value k. And my first job is to work out, well, what is that k? What is that constant value that I will always get if I multiply x, y together? Okay, so I've been given some information here that's going to help me work out what that k is, because I know if I multiply these two values together, the x is 2 and the y is 16 together, that's going to tell me what that k value is. Okay, so if I substitute this in, x is 2 and y is 18, so I've got 2 times 18, and that's going to tell me what k is. Okay, so that tells me that k is 36. Okay, so I now know that k is equal to 36. I can put it into my equation over here. So instead of saying xy is equal to k, I'm going to say that xy is equal to 36 because I now know what that value of that k is. Okay, so that's going to be my main equation that I can use to work out any value of x or any value of y that I want to. Okay, so for the last part of this question, I'm being asked to find the value of y when x is equal to 12. Okay, so if I substitute the x is equal to 12 into here, that's going to tell me that 12 times y, or 12y, is equal to 36. And I can solve this equation because I can divide both sides by 12, and that's going to tell me that y is equal to 3. Okay, so the value of y when x is 12 is 3. Okay, so that's the value that we were looking for. Okay, let's have a look at a different example. So this time, again, we've got inverse proportion. We've got y is inversely proportional to x over here. So I'm going to write this as, and again, I can write it as y is equal to k divided by x, but like I said before, I prefer to write it as xy is equal to k. Okay, it means the same thing. Right, I'm going to use these values here to help me work out what k is. So if I substitute those in, x is 6 and y is 12, so I've got 6 times 12 is equal to k, and that tells me that k is going to be equal to 72. Okay, I now know that k is equal to 72, so I can rewrite this equation as xy is equal to 72. Okay, so that's going to be my equation for this question. Okay, so the question's asking me find the value of x when y is 9. So this time I'm going to substitute the 9 in for the y. So I've got x times 9 is equal to 72. So okay, and x times 9, I prefer to write that as 9x. So 9x is equal to 72. I can divide both sides by 9 here, and that's going to tell me that x is equal to 72 divided by 9, which is 8. So the answer to this question here is x is equal to 8. Okay, let's look at a different type of question. So this time we've got, again, it's inverse proportion. That's what that terminology is telling me. But this time I've got y is inversely proportional to x squared. Okay, y is inversely proportional to x squared. So I'm going to write this as x squared y is equal to k. Okay, I could have written it as y is equal to k over x squared, but I would prefer to write it like this, x squared y is equal to k. Okay, so I'm going to use the information that I've been given here, when x equals 3, y equals 8, to work out what that value of that k is. So I'm going to substitute this in, so this time I've got x is 3, over here I've got x squared though, so I'm going to put 3 squared times 8 is equal to k. 3 squared times 8 is equal to k. I know that 3 squared is 9, so I've got 9 times 8, which is 72, is equal to k. So that tells me that k is equal to 72. Okay, so I'm going to substitute that 72 into that original equation, and that's going to tell me that x squared y is equal to 72. Okay, so this is going to be my main equation this time. Okay, so I now need to find the value of x when y is equal to 4.5. So I'm going to substitute 4.5 into here. So I'm going to have x squared times 4.5, but I would prefer to write that as 4.5 x squared is equal to 72. All I've done there is I substitute the 4.5 in for my y. Okay, I can now divide both sides by 4.5, so x squared is going to be equal to 72 divided by 4.5, which I know is 16. Okay, so x squared is equal to 16, which means x, I need to square root both sides of this, so x is going to be equal to, and I need to be careful here, because I know that 4 squared is going to give me 16, so I know 4 is an answer, but also negative 4 squared also gives me 16, because negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So I'm going to write my answer as plus or minus 16. Okay, so that's going to be my answer there. X is equal to plus or minus 16. I could have written my answer twice. I could have written x is equal to 16 and x is equal to negative 16. Okay, so either way is absolutely fine. I prefer to write it as plus or minus 16. Okay, finally, we've got this question over here. And again, we've got inverse proportion over here. So I'm going to write this as y is equal to, the square root of x times y is equal to k. Okay, again, I could have written it as y is equal to k divided by the square root of x. Right, so we're going to use the information that we're given. When x is equal to 4, y is equal to 30. So I'm going to substitute that in here. So that's going to give me the square root of 4 times 30 is equal to k. Okay, and I know that the square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 30 is going to give me 60. So k must be equal to 60. So that means the square root of x times y must be equal to, instead of k, I can now say 60. Okay, so that's the equation that I need to work this out. Okay, so the question itself is saying find the value of x when y is equal to 20. So I'm going to substitute my y equals 20 into here to work out what x is. So if I put 20 into here, I've got the square root of x times 20 is equal to 60. I would prefer to write this as 20 root x, so I'll write it like that. Okay, so 20 root x is equal to 60. That tells me that the square root of x is equal to 60 divided by 20, which is 3. And then to work out what x is, well, the square root of x is 3, so x must be 9. And essentially what I'm doing here is squaring both sides. Square root of x squared is x, and 3 squared is 9. That tells me that x is going to be equal to 9. And that is the answer to that part of the question. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some questions for you to have a go at yourself. So I'd like you to pause the video. Okay, you can see all those on the screen. So pause the video and see if you can have a go at these 4 questions here. Okay, well done if you managed to have a go at those questions. I'm just going to go through the answers to these. So I'm not going to go over each question, I'm just going to tell you what the answers are. So the first one, the equation you got should have been xy is equal to 100. And you should have worked out that y is equal to 4. The second one, you should have worked out that xy is equal to 200. And for this one, we're working out x when y is 10 and x would be equal to 20. Okay, the next one, so this time you should have got x cubed y is equal to 54. and that will tell you that x cubed is equal to 8 when y is 6.75, and x is going to be equal to 2 for that one. Okay, so the answer there for that one is x is equal to 2. And finally, the last one, we've got the square root of x times y is equal to, we should have had 24. Okay, and you should have worked out that the square root of x is going to be equal to 12 when y is 2, and therefore x is going to be equal to 144. Okay, well done if you managed to get there. I hope you found that video useful. Make sure you like and subscribe, and leave me a comment if there's any videos that you would like to see in the future, or if there's anything that you are unsure about. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.